Hey everyone, it's Cory McCarthy, and welcome to the live Q&As. I'm just going to wait for people to begin rolling in. Most people probably aren't even expecting this, considering the fact that I have been down from doing live Q&As for quite a while now. So I don't even know. I got people rolling in now. But as you all probably are aware, I've not been allowed to do live Q&A since like fucking July. And I finally got the rights back to do it. And I started by doing a live Q&A at my Patreon channel, my Patreon page last week. And so this is the first one back on my actual YouTube channel. So as usual, you guys can drop comments over at the side. You know the drill. It's been a while, but I'm sure you've seen Q&As that are live on other people's channels since I've been unable to do them. And of course, if you want a super chat, there's a super chat option too, I think, unless they fucking took that away from me. I don't know. I haven't checked. But there's a super chat option as well, and that will highlight your comment, and you kick a little something my way for doing these Q&As as well. So let's get right to it. I'm gonna check out the questions down the side. Now, a little something I want to put out there first. If you find your questions aren't appearing, this has been something that's been happening even with my Patreon Q&As back in the past, which were private to Patreon members. But Google has been YouTube, Google, same entity, have been filtering people's comments and even my comments sometimes on my channel. I guess because they don't like things I'm saying, or people are saying, I guess there's certain keywords that set off a trigger or something. And if you find that your comment isn't posting, it's probably because there's a certain word that's is triggering something. It's been banned, I guess, in some capacity by YouTube. Anyway, I just want to put that out there. I'm not deleting comments, so yeah, let's move forward. Okay, so Johnny says you're back. Yep, I'm back. You know, you guys can read these fucking questions to the side, so there's no reason for me to read them out to you, but I will address by name. IJOP. Cory, have you heard about the benefits of saunas, hot showers, and cold showers? It seems like saunas have some benefits. Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked much into it, but I have heard there's like cardiovascular benefits. There's benefits to like skin health. But cold showers, I don't know. I'm talking about saunas here. I haven't really looked into it too much, so I can't really go into too much detail about that. But I have heard there's even recovery benefits post-workout for people. But again, like I said, I haven't looked into it much. My gym doesn't even have a fucking sauna. It's really kind of a bare bones sort of lifting gym. Doesn't have any of that kind of those sorts of frills. So it's not something I've explored too much. I'm glad to be back. Giorgio says he misses the Q&As. Johnny D's asked if will lack of sleep cause muscle loss even if you get enough calories and protein. Yes, it can cause muscle loss. Not extra protein and calories can try to help prevent that to some degree, but you need sleep because it will drop your hormones back. It'll raise your cortisol levels, so you'll have lower testosterone, higher estrogen via the higher cortisol levels, and that's not good for muscle building or muscle maintenance or fat loss. So yes, you need sleep at least 7 hours a day. And in my ebooks, I talk about like how much you can even get as an athlete. I go into great detail about sleep. Well, great enough detail. Doesn't need a lot of detail, but I go into enough detail without rambling too much. IJS, can I do a video on climate change? Thing about climate change is I'm not a climate change denier. I'm just on the fence with it. Like I don't, there seems to be mixed research on it. Like you have some research showing that it's a human caused situation, and then you have other people saying, well, no, those researchers are like wrong, and the research is flawed, and it's based on flawed data or manipulated data. And I don't know I'm not an expert in that field, so I don't know who's right, who's wrong. You hear arguments on both sides that seem valid, so I'm kind of on the fence. I'm agnostic on climate change. Now, I do recognize that when it comes to things like resource use and land use, for animal agriculture, obviously you can't deny a quantitative number. You can't deny the fact that there's more resources and land put toward animal agriculture than farming plant foods. So, you know, and my opinion on that is why waste? You know, why do something inefficient and why waste? And there's numerous other reasons why I'm a vegan too. That's just like one of many good arguments for it. But anywho, I've never been able to feel full on a vegan diet. Asks Vital Sign. How can I lose weight? So I guess what you mean is you're never feeling full, so you're eating more and more and more and more, I guess, and the calories are causing you to either maintain or gain. My advice would be eat a lot of fiber-rich foods and eat a higher protein diet. Both of those might help you maintain a caloric deficit while as a vegan. To give you an example of something that I've said numerous times, try eating an apple, for instance, is a very low-calorie food. It's a low-calorie food. It's very high in fiber. It's you know, like most rock fruits are. Try eating 5 apples in one sitting and tell me how you feel after that. Like that's a an example I like to use because it's true. I have a massive appetite, but I can't really feel hungry after 5 apples. So if you find yourself on a diet and you find that you are just extra hungry, throw in some plums, throw in some, you know, apples. These are all low calorie, very dense foods because of the fiber content. So it won't really wreck your diet too much, or at all, really. You have to eat an excessive amount of apples during your diet with that. But I mean like whole apples, not like, you know, some kind of candied apple or something, but whole freaking apples. Try that. Peaches, plums, all in the same sort of ballpark there. Pears can work too. Rock fruits, basically. Will working out in an empty stomach make you lose muscle? When you say empty stomach, do you mean fully fasted or like a semi-fasted state? If you mean fully fasted, like overnight, there is a higher risk of muscle damage, yes. And there is research to show that BCAAs can help mitigate some of that damage. Take like 10 grams pre-workout of BCAAs can help mitigate that. But then again, I've also seen research showing that apparently that's also a bad recommendation. My advice is like train later in the day, if you can, if your schedule allows for it, with at least a meal a few hours before you work out or just before you work out, depending on how you feel. If you feel better on more of an empty stomach, then do what I do. I train having eaten about 3 hours prior, and then there's that rest period of no food between that last meal and working out. And I don't get the feeling of wanting to puke while I'm at the gym. So, but some people need that, or they will feel like they want to puke if they don't have a meal right before, a snack right before the gym. So you got to work with your body. Have I ever thought about human bullfighting as a sport? Someone, Charzar asks, I figured that waving the American flag makes them charge after you. Yeah, some people get really triggered by the American flag, including Americans. I think that's what you're talking about here. Have I ever thought about human bullfighting as a sport? Yeah, some of these SJWs look like bulls. They're just, you know, warthogs and bulls. Chimera. Oh, hey, what's up? That's actually one of my friends, Nat. So you probably have seen Nat's transformation photos on this channel before. Chimera is my friend, Nat. What's up? What's going on, Nat? Giorgio asks, how effective is ashwagandha? Ashwagandha seems to be pretty effective. You know, now it's not like a medicine, so you're going to get herb type results, and you have to let it build in your body like any herb that you put in, that you take. It's not you're not necessarily going to see effectiveness right away, but it has been shown in placebo-controlled randomized trials to lower feelings of stress and also lower cortisol. That's actually a measurable effect, is lowering cortisol. So if you find that you're having issues with stress, you're going through a rough time, ashwagandha, I think it's called KSM 66 is the extract that's been studied a lot. It's a really good adaptogen, I think that's what they call it, adaptogen herb that you can take to help deal with a stressful time in your life. Now, obviously, it's not going to do everything. So you need to work on the core problems that are causing you stress in your life and focus on fixing those first, and then use ashwagandha to kind of help you along. That's what I would recommend. But yeah, it's very valid. I actually keep ashwagandha in my cupboard, not for daily use, but I have it in my cupboard for those times when I need that little extra help, because we all go through stress. You can't avoid that. Stress is part of life, and sometimes it can be worse than others. So Anon says, hey, Cory, I'm feeling some weird pressure in my knee accompanied by sporadic pain, but it's never super debilitating or blown out level. Have you ever seen anything? Have you ever had anything similar? I've had pains in my knees before if I do something at the wrong angle or twist myself wrong or bang my knee. I would see a doctor. I'm not a medical specialist. I don't want to give advice on that sort of thing because I don't want someone to get hurt with my advice. How much is the max amount of sugar one should eat? I wouldn't eat sugar. If, I mean, you can treat yourself to it, but I would, you know, have fruit or something instead if you want sweet. But I'm not saying deprive yourself. If you want to enjoy some sugar, just keep in mind this, it's not a health food at all in any regard. So even a serving of sugar isn't like, you know, it may not hurt you, but it's not, you know, great for you either. There's alternatives that are better. Like if you really want something sweet, eat some berries or something like blueberries, raspberries. They're incredibly sweet. Strawberries, if they're nice and ripe, are incredibly sweet. And actually, I just tried something the other week I never had before. What the fuck was that called again? It looks like a durian, but it's not a durian. Jackfruit. I had jackfruit the other week for the first time ever. I mean, I've had candy that tastes like jackfruit, but this is real jackfruit. It was annoying as shit to cut and get it prepped, but I saw it at Whole Foods. I was like, hey, you know, try something. So I tried it, and that was actually a really nice fruit. I really enjoyed jackfruit. So recommendation right there if you want something very candy-like, but it's fruit. So you can check that out. Top 3 role models. Wow, role models. I don't really have role models per se. I have people that inspire me, I guess, but I don't stretch to say that I base myself around them to any real extent, I guess. I do think that a genuinely motivating guy is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. I mean, I don't know him personally, but he seems like a really nice guy. He seems like he genuinely gives a shit about the things he claims to give a shit about. And, you know, he seems to love his children. That's great. You know, I can't really pick on the guy for any of that. I think, and, you know, as a lifter, he busts his ass in the gym. He's had a lot of injuries, so there's things he can't do because he used to be a football player, I believe, before he was a wrestler. But I guess he's a pretty cool dude that I find motivating. There's musicians that I find motivating, like Dave Gilmour of Pink Floyd is the reason why I play guitar. One of the big reasons why I play guitar was I like Pink Floyd and I like Gilmour's work. So, I mean, it stretches beyond fitness. There's not really a lot of fitness folks that sort of motivate me because I find a lot of fitness folks to be frauds. There's a lot of them that are frauds. Like people are like, oh, what about Greg Plitt or people like it's like, no. These people don't really influence me at all. Yeah, I guess that's so. I don't really have a lot, I guess, but there are people who will inspire me in some way. Yeah. Jose says, Cory, old-time fan here, right-wing vegan and fan of yours since 2015. Great to see it. And anybody else on here is a right-wing vegan. I mean, for those who aren't right-wing, this isn't like necessarily a right-wing channel. I mean, I'm right-wing, but I'm just pointing out that, like, don't feel alone. There are vegans out there that are right-wing too. Don't feel alone. Don't feel like you don't belong. You know, that being vegan will make you have to switch your political beliefs. You know, I try to stomp on that because I feel like that's a message is passed around a lot, and I feel it's a harmful message. Veganism should be open to anybody. It's about animals. It's not about your political leanings. But some far left people have politicized it, unfortunately. And there's far right people that have then demonized it because they're afraid of being associated with something that's been politicized as far left. So it's something that we need to stop and stomp out and get rid of because veganism is apolitical. Rebirth says, I like the hair. Thank you, Rebirth. Mimi says, thoughts on DNA tests like 23andMe. Are they safe? Are they farming our data? I did 23andMe. I did it before a lot of the shady shit came out about 23andMe. I do think they're farming data. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but they are collecting data, and they're also having you do surveys where they give you bonuses for if you do them. And it's like they're trying to collect more information on you, personal information about you. Now, they claim they're doing it for research purposes, and very well they might be, but they're also collecting that data. So, you know, tinfoil hat a little bit here, but I do think that there is some agenda. Maybe perhaps there could be, you know, just like Facebook collects data, I guess, but this is genetic data, so it's a little bit more frightening than like Facebook knowing what kind of fucking food you like. But yeah, I mean, 23andMe, data-wise, what I got from it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool to find out what your ancestry is and the exact mix and composition of that. And also to have like some estimations about what you might expect later in life genetically, health-wise, you know, what you might be prone to addiction-wise. It's kind of cool. There's some useful information in there as well that helps you get to know yourself a bit better. And it also connects you with relatives that you may not even know exist that are on 23andMe as well. And programs like that, because it's Ancestry.com as well, which I think is run by the Mormons. It might be safer because it's Mormon. You know, 23andMe is I think is liberal leaning, if I'm not mistaken. What would you recommend? Oh shit, it's moving so fucking fast. Let's see here. I'm gonna move back up again. Okay, so Roger asks, if I cheated on my diet yesterday, about 1,000 calories surplus, should I start the day as if it was any other, or should I eat 14,000 calories with yesterday's surplus? You could do that. There are people who have done that where they'll deficit like hard, really fucking hard the day before, and then they'll come and do like a massive surplus the next day. Well, those fucking binge eat. There are people that do that. I think Jon Venus has done things like that, where he's put himself in a serious deficit the day before and even the day after. But he's like had a big old fucking like 10,000 calorie cheat day on the day between. You could do that, or you could just say fuck it and get back on your diet as per usual. If you're not doing this kind of thing that often, an extra 1,000 or even 2,000 calories in a single day, like if you happen to do it like once a month or something, it's not really going to cause you much damage. You actually might look fuller and better after it. It can happen where the body actually, especially if it's a higher carb cheat day. I wouldn't recommend eating like cakes and pies and things like that. But if it's things like, you know, some candy, a lot of fruit, some cereals, rice, vegan sushi, that sort of thing, you know, maybe some veggie burgers with bun and ketchup and all that kind of stuff. You know, that will harm you a lot less than if you're like having a day where you eat like 5 boxes of donuts and a pie and a cake. So your body will better utilize the carbohydrates. And due to de novo lipogenesis, it's going to be harder for you to turn those carbohydrates into fat. So, but again, if you're continually doing that sort of thing, even carbohydrates, de novo lipogenesis will eventually catch up, and you will put on fat from the carbohydrates too. You will inevitably do so. Like, I think it's something like if you do it like 3 or 4 days in a row where you're on excessive surplus with carbohydrates, that can happen too. So I think it's like 3 days or so in a row. So you know, once in a while, I wouldn't worry about it. And I wouldn't put yourself into like a starvation mentality. That's almost like a Catholic repenting kind of mentality. It's like I did this, you know, sinful thing one day, so I'm gonna like punish myself and restrict hard, like, you know, hard as fuck the next day. I don't think that's a good mindset to put yourself into. So you might be doing yourself harm long term psychologically also. Giorgio says, what would I recommend to do after more than a month of complete stop from lifting weights? Get back into lifting weights. I mean, I wouldn't jump right back into the numbers you had before. I would like build, you know, that's possibly one way to go about it. Like ramp up your sets to see where you are, because you might have lost some strength. But definitely, you know, just go back into lifting weights. Just I would build into it. Again, I wouldn't jump right back. Let's say your squat was like 400 before you stopped. I would maybe start like 350, kind of build, see where you're at number wise, and work yourself back up there again, because more than likely you'll be a little bit detrained, not like massively detrained, but you'll be a bit detrained, but it'll come back to you pretty quick. Let's see. Rebirth says, I'm visiting New York City for a friend's wedding in a week. Are you based there for the near future? I'm based here for now. That's always subject to change. I don't like this place very much, and I have reason to leave. but I'm here for now, and I'm all about meeting up with people. Actually, the friend that I went to Bear Mountain with, you guys saw photos in my back video, my back injury video that I did a couple weeks ago. The friend that I went to Bear Mountain with he used to watch my channel. He watched the Golden one and he watched my channel, and we connected on Facebook, and we just started hanging out in 2017, and we regularly hang out. Regularly hang out whenever we're both available to do so. So I'll totally hang out with you guys. If there's somebody from YouTube who watches my channel and happens to be in New York or something, I'd love to meet up. I'm all about, like, if I can meet new friends, meet new people, don't be a stranger. Hit me up on social media. Let me know if you're going to be around, and I'd love to meet up. Nat says he's very fine. It's great to hear, Nat. It's good to hear from you. It's really good to hear from you. Haven't heard from much on Facebook. Again, Nat is Camara. He's a good friend of mine. I've been friends with him for 4 years now, I guess, maybe a little longer than that. And he's one of the transformation photos I've shown. Looks like he might be doing a competition. That's awesome. It's awesome. I'll follow that. Somebody says, Fanglord says, remember the people perpetuating the idea that climate change is a hoax, the same people making videos about soy boys. Like I said, I've looked at the actual research data, and I see like mixed stuff. I'm not an expert. I'm not saying climate change isn't real. I'm not saying that it is real. I'm agnostic. I need more data. If you guys have links for me, I'm all about learning. I'd like to review the research and look at it. I know there was a big paper out of London that everyone likes to cite, or maybe it was just out of Cambridge or Oxford or something. It was something in the UK. That is one of the big ones I like to cite, that from apparently the data is flawed or something. I'm not an expert. I completely will admit that I'm like ignorant in that field for the most part. So, I'm willing to be educated on it. So, and that's what I like to look at research. I like to educate myself. So, did I have any pre-fight rituals back when I used to compete? For those who don't know, I used to do full contact fighting in Kyokushin, which is like it's like a Japanese kickboxing. It's full contact karate is what it is. Did I have any pre-fight rituals? Yes, actually I did. I would often I would like not carb up for the week leading up, so I'd like do like a keto kind of diet, and then I would carb load right before, because what I found was I would have more energy after a carb load than just eating carbs throughout a week. So I would often go a full week of like keto, and the day before I would carb load. Not like to bloat myself, but enough that I felt full, I felt strong, and I had this newfound burst of energy. I would also take GABA, GABA, which is GABA aminobutyric acid, because it helps calm the nerves a bit before a fight. So I would take GABA, and I would watch Jean-Claude Van Damme films the night before. It sounds cheesy, I know, but 80s martial arts films just like got my blood boiling. So it was one of those kind of things I just felt amped up. So I'd watch like Jean-Claude Van Damme films, not Steven Seagal, maybe Jean-Claude Van Damme, Gary Daniels, a lot of these early 90s, late 80s action stars. And I'd watch like a couple of their movies like Kickboxer or Bloodsport the day before the competition, just to like, kind of energize myself. I just found it motivating. It's kind of like people who watch Pump and Iron before they go work out, or Dorian Yates' Blood and Guts before they go work out. It's that sort of thing. And yeah, that's what I did. I didn't really follow the whole no sex before a fight. In fact, that's been found to be complete bullshit. I've done a video on that back in 2014, one of my old Raw videos. I did a video about that. It's been found to be kind of bullshit. So you don't need, there's an old wives tale it, don't have sex. Girls make you weak. It was even featured in the movie Rocky, but there's no science really to support that. So yeah, those are some of my rituals, and that's pure anecdote. I'm not going to tell you that like you will be a better fighter because you do something that I did. But hey, find what works for you. If you find something that pumps you and energizes you, go with it. Go with it. Let's see here. Jennifer Flower says right wing here. There you go. There you go. See everyone. There are right wing vegans. So if you are watching this and you feel like, you know, you're watching this silently and you feel like, do I belong in the vegan community? You very well do. I don't care if you're right wing, centrist, left wing, whatever. You fit here. It's not about politics. So, let's see here. Thoughts on soy? Does it decrease testosterone? I recommend you check out my Paul Joseph Watson responses. Both of them, actually, because the second one was a lot more detailed about who soy might actually affect. There does appear to be a class of people who it might affect a little bit. But when I say a little bit, it's not enough to affect, it's not going to turn you into a woman. But I recommend you watch both of my Paul Joseph Watson videos. They are the most in-depth soy videos I've ever done. And if you have questions about flaxseed, because people are always on about flaxseed, watch my response video to Kino Body and who the fuck is that other guy? I can't think of his name right now. There's some other guy that Kino Body did like collabs with, this knucklehead who thinks that flax and soy lower testosterone levels, amongst other things. And I murdered his points in that response video as well. So if you type in Kino Body and soy on my channel in the search, you'll find it. Or you type in on YouTube search Cory McCarthy Kino Body soy, it'll come up. I just can't think of the other guy's name right now because I don't really know who he is other than with that one video that somebody asked me to debunk. Let's see here. Many vegans don't want children because of environmental concerns and promote vasectomies. Your thoughts on this? Children are our future. Do you want us to go extinct? Now, I do think there's people who shouldn't be having children. You know, it's not a big secret that I promote eugenics. Now, everyone's gonna be like, oh my God, that's a Nazi thing to promote eugenics. No, I'm talking about eugenic breeding practices. I'm talking about people picking the best partner for them and trying to basically optimize their offspring, you know. Be selective. That's what I mean by eugenics here in this case. I'm not talking about, like, you know, murdering people who don't, you know, who are genetically you know, perpetuate. When you're looking for a partner you want to have children with. And yeah, there are a lot of vegans who are antinatalist. I have my issues with antinatalism, and I've covered some of them in responses before. There's issues with negative utilitarianism that I have as well, but that's a whole different topic. I'm not going to get into all that now. But I you know, to keep our species alive, if you want to keep our species alive, we have to have children. And I think that there should be more of the, you know, people who should be having children who aren't having children that should be having children. Makes any sense? A lot of people demonize veganism as a cult, and I think a few idiots like Durian Ryder actually try to turn it into a cult via social media, thus damaging veganism. Thoughts on this? Yes, I agree, and I think this. I've made it very clear that I think that Durian Ryder and Freely's advice, at least on diet, is very harmful. And it might turn people away from veganism when they get sick from their really shitty diet advice. Like excessively dropping your fat calories back is just not smart. You need fat, especially for the uptake of certain vitamins and minerals, also for skin and hair health, also for brain health, for hormone health. My God, the list goes on and on. And excessively low-fat diets, and this concept where you can binge eat on things like fruit or sugar, for God's sakes, because Durian Ryder puts sugar in everything, and you're not going to gain weight from it. Maybe that's the case if you're like an active cyclist burning through hundreds of thousands of calories. I'm being a little bit exaggerative there per day, but you see what I'm saying? Maybe you're going to burn through that sugar, but your average viewer who's watching is probably not doing what you're doing at the activity level you're doing it, and they're just going to get fat living like that. You know, it's not good advice, and that's just the nutritional side of things that I think will put people away from veganism and make us seem like we're nutters from the nutritional perspective. But yes, there are a lot of them, like the intersectional crowd, that I feel like make us look like nutters for other reasons, for political and social reasons too. There's so many people that are harmful to veganism that think they're doing good for veganism, or maybe they just don't care. I actually get the impression a lot of intersectionals don't give a fuck. The reason I say this is I've actually seen intersectionals say things like, and I have comments screenshotted of this sort of thing, say things like, white men shouldn't be vegan, you know, which is like, yeah, that's right, a way to, like, you know, repel an entire demographic, a large demographic of people from a movement. Yeah, you really care about the movement. Other things are like, I've seen one person say, I'd rather have my friends eat something like 8 pounds of beef a day than be racists or something like that, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing here, but I've seen comments like this. It's like, keep the other political shit out of veganism. That's not the core purpose of the movement. So, and I think it's shit like that that will do the movement more harm. There's effective activism, and there's ineffective activism, strongly ineffective activism. What is my view on European politics as of now? Mainly the open borders brigade. You all know my thoughts on open borders, and you all know my thoughts on the migrant situation. I think Europe is self-destructing, and it needs to stop what it's doing. It needs to close its borders, secure its borders, be secure countries, have tight immigration laws. Europe and the European countries are going to collapse if they continue on the path they're continuing on, with these people coming in and just basically living off the welfare system and not contributing back, and the high crime rates, etc. They're just the differences in beliefs and culture. Let me look in Sweden. The figures from the Swedish Employment Authority, I think it was what it was. I've done a video where I talked about this, show that of all the migrants that have come in, only 0.3, not 3, but 0.3% actually work and contribute back to the system. The rest are generally on the welfare system in Sweden. That's not sustainable. That's going to collapse. That's stupid. They need to close their borders, fix their country, and focus on their fucking citizens. If they're having low birth rates, promote their citizens to have more children. Stop with the hedonism, the partying, the drinking, and all of that people are doing when they're younger and could be starting families. And then they get to the point where maybe it's too late and they can't have children anymore, or their children are going to be at more of a risk because of their age. They need to stop that shit and promote more wholesome values. And Italy's doing this, actually. I think Italy's they're currently and Nat's an Italian. He could correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think Italy is promoting that Italians have more children, and they're trying to do things to help Italians who are having more children. So they're promoting the growth of Italy, of Italians in Italy, instead of importing people from third world nations who don't like them and just want free shit, who are of fighting age and could just go back and defend their own country and do something to change their homelands. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't things that we shouldn't do, like involve ourselves in their politics. There are things that they've done wrong, that people have done wrong in Europe and in America. I'm not going to deny that, but this isn't the solution either. Just turning Europe into a third world shithole. Okay. Thoughts on turmeric supplements for hormonal balance. I don't know about hormones, but turmeric is really good antioxidant, I believe. It actually has a lot of longevity, anti-cancer, anti-aging benefits. I don't know about hormones, though. That's something that I've not looked into or heard anything about. So, and even what dose like you'd need to take to achieve that. Jennifer says, I think it's got a reputation of being cultish because of the social demonizing of people eating a vegan diet, not because itself is a cult. You can't help what people do with it. That's true. Like, you know, people are going to do stupid shit in any movement, any social political movement. You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. There are dumbasses on the far right. There are dumbasses on the far left. There are dumbasses everywhere. There's just so many dumbasses. And you know, there's stupid shit like the LARPing at Charlottesville, for instance, and of course the left-wing media jumped on and like, oh God, they're all Nazis. They're all fucking Nazis. Yes, there are people dressing like Nazis that probably were genuinely held Nazi beliefs, but I don't think the vast majority. I would stress to say the vast majority don't hold those kinds of beliefs, and think the LARPing was fucking dumb. But of course, they amplify that demographic. Johann Augustine says, I've heard that there's phytoestrogens in soy, and we are obviously not plants, unlike cow milk, which has mammalian. That's correct. Phytoestrogens are a lot easier for our body to metabolize. Again, I recommend you guys check out my Paul Joseph Watson responses, both of them, to get a better understanding of what soy does in your body and what it doesn't do in your body. And I'm talking about a broad amount of studies I covered. I covered like something in the ballpark of 137 papers in total, if you count the meta-analysis and break them down to the individual papers that are involved in those. Over 137 papers in total showing what soy actually does and doesn't do. I'm trying to shatter the myth, but yeah, I can't say I was that successful in convincing people, because I had a lot of people who would just come in and their only comment was soy boy. What an argument. Yeah. Let's see here. Can you be healthy and make gains with moderate sleep apnea? Sleep apnea is actually a condition that can shorten your life. I would recommend you work on that. But in the time being, it might be hard because you're not getting full sleep, and it might affect your hormones, and it might affect your ability to build. It doesn't mean you should stop lifting weights. It's a very helpful thing to do. You need to work on your sleep apnea and what might be causing your sleep apnea, any root problems. I'm not a doctor, but you should be working on that too. But you certainly should be physically involved in exercise as well. Don't wait until you cure the condition to do that. But understand that any hormonal implications from having sleep problems might manifest themselves in lower gains, difficult time maintaining gains, and difficult time reducing body fat. Any thoughts on a bodybuilding split April through September and a barbell-based powerlifting program during winter? I got the fat off first. Now I'm putting on a ton of muscle, working oddly well. Hey, if it's working for you, that's great. You'll do better on like an upper lower push pull legs or full body kind of split than you will a body part split. It's a small difference, so it's not a massive difference, but there's still a difference in favor of more frequency. But it's fine to like cycle through different things. It's perfectly fine. It's not, you're not going to get less gains, but I wouldn't exclusively do just a bodybuilding style split. That's my thoughts on that. Anonymous says, thanks, dude. My first kickback boxing match is this month. I've been asking other people what they do before a fight. The keto idea sounds interesting. Now, keep in mind that keto idea just worked for me. I find that whenever I'm keto and then I have, for at least a week or so, and then I do a refeed day, that I get this sudden burst of energy that I just don't have full time. It's like an overdrive of energy just suddenly out of nowhere that I don't have when I'm eating carbohydrates regularly. So that worked for me. It doesn't mean it won't necessarily work for you. I don't have any science to support that. That's what worked for me, So take it completely as anecdote, and see how it goes. And let me know how your fight goes too. I'd love to hear about it. I really do love. I might not be fighting anymore, at least in competition, because of some of the injuries that I've received that just never healed, and I never got back into it for that reason. But I do love hearing about people's fights, and I do love giving advice where I can, and for what it's worth. You're doing kickboxing. I did Kyokushin. Some people are doing MMA or Muay Thai, that sort of thing. I'll give advice the best I can from what I've experienced. So, but there's definitely going to be variations. Let's see here. Do a collab with Golden One in Sweden. You are the Golden One of the USA. I've told Marcus and I are friends. I've told Marcus numerous times that if ever we're in the same location at the same time where it's conducive, I would love to do a collab. I'd love to have a sparring match with Marcus. People have asked for that too. I'd be open to that. You know, just a friendly sparring match between the two of us, or a lifting collab, anything really. He's a friend, so I'd love to do anything like that. I've never been to Sweden. I don't know when I'll be getting to Sweden or if I'll be getting to Sweden, but I know Marcus does travel around a bit. So it's possible sometime we'll be in the same place around the same time. And I would love to arrange something like that if he's interested. But he seemed interested before, but we haven't actually spoken at length for about a couple months or so. The last time I spoke to him was to congratulate him on being engaged. That was the last time I spoke to him. That was about a couple months back. Let's see here. Okay, all political movements get infiltrated. It's true. It's true. People co-opt movements regularly. It's and social movements too. And it's so sad. There's not much you can do about it, but try to bring it to light. Try to talk about it, to get people thinking about it and to call out the bullshit. Because maybe you can drive them away if you call out their bullshit. A lot of these people who are insane like that, they literally are insane. A lot of them are narcissists, sociopaths, borderline personality, things like that. They don't want to be exposed for what they are. They don't want that veil, that facade, that mask they wear lifted. So if you expose them as the nutters that they are, they might fuck off. They'll probably rage first, but you know, that hopefully will fuck off too. But I'm not an expert on personality disorders, so I'm just talking from what I've witnessed in observation, because I have dealt with people with personality disorders. I actually dated a girl once who had borderline, and that was a trip. Italy is a mess right now, Giorgio Detrain says. From any point of view, our country's economy is going to collapse sooner or later. No surprise that younger people who graduate here find jobs in other European countries. Well, Giorgio, I'm not an expert on your Italian politics, but I do think that Italy is trying to head back in the right direction. They're fighting against the EU, and their new leadership, I do believe, has Italy's best interests in mind, and trying to promote Italians having babies and cutting off the intake of refugees. I think those are a great start. Now, granted, damage has been done, and that's the same thing for Sweden. But it doesn't mean you can't start to try to turn things around. And you know, and I wish Italy the best. You know, a country with a beautiful history. I really do wish you guys the best, and I hope things can work out. I'd like to see things just work out and get fixed. Can a vegan diet help with joint pain and tendonitis? I don't know. Possibly. You have a high antioxidant content in the diet, like vitamin C, and vitamin C has been shown to improve joint health. So there's a possibility that that it could indeed promote joint health on some level. But if you're having a lot of issues with joints, see a doctor. Perhaps try vegetarian or vegan glucosamine, because the vegetarian vegans, I don't think there's anything in that. It's just shellfish free. So I believe it's like synthesized, so vegetarian vegan glucosamine. Try Cissus quadrangularis. It's an herb that's been shown to help fix, repair soft and hard tissue. I used it when I was fighting a lot. I still have it in case I tweaked myself somehow. It's a really great herb. It's been shown in numerous studies to be helpful with regards to joints and soft and hard tissue. Let's see here. Gonna get down here and move to another question. Kind of run through because the time is running out on this, and I got to get back to something else I have to do today. Let's see here. Going vegan won't make the world better. No, there's a lot of problems in the world. I mean, it'll make things better in some respects. There's things that will be improved by going vegan, like resource use, land use. You know, not torturing and enslaving animals, which, you know, it's something that I feel is some people may not care about that, but I care about that, and I think all vegans care about that for the most part. It's more healthy, you know, healthful, and it might help reduce cancer, you know, rates and reduce heart disease rates. potentially. Of course, you still have to be active. You still have to be mindful of what you eat as a vegan, because you can still be an unhealthful vegan. But there are things that it can improve upon. It's not going to like fix all of the world's problems. Certainly not. There's far too many. But it's a start on some, you know. But I'm under no illusions that the world will ever go fully vegan. And I've said this before. It's kind of a vegan black pill. But it doesn't stop me from doing my part, not contributing to the problem. That's how I look at that. It's you know, it's you know, don't contribute to the problem. Don't be part of the problem, even if you yourself alone aren't going to change the world. You know. But hey, you never know. You might inspire people if you build muscle, or you're well spoken, or you're a good debater, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You might people might look at you and be like, oh, you know. I might try going vegan because of this guy. So you never know. Let's see here. I'm going to drop down and see what other questions. Oh, hi, Anne. I was actually talking to Anne on the phone last night. She's having some personal situations going on. And thanks for joining in the chat. Let's see here. My thoughts on Trump's performance so far. There's a lot of things I don't care for about Trump. There's a lot of things I do care for about Trump. But then again, you know, I'm not like a black and white kind of person. Like, I understand there's shades of gray. I think there's things he's done for the economy that are great, that I don't think he's getting credit for, that they're not giving him credit for. Like bringing the job. We have a better rates of employment in the country right now. GDP is better right now. There are things like his views on hunting, I don't agree with. Sport hunting, you know, I don't agree with. I'm on the fence with climate change, so, you know, there are things I agree with. I obviously agree with his wanting to protect America's borders, wanting to put America first. These are things I definitely agree with. But, you know, that's just in a nutshell. I'm just kind of like touching on some big points here. But, you know, there are things I don't like. There are things I do like. You know, so I'm not like 100% on board with everything Trump does, but I'm not 100% on board with everything that anybody does. You know, I'll have points of contention with anybody, and I'm sure people have points of contention with me, but they have points that they agree on as well. We all have different views. And saying that she wants to talk more about borderline personality disorder. Man, I could go on and on and on. That's a whole topic I could even do a video to. There's so much to talk about borderline personality disorder and other personality disorders, like in the dark triad, for instance, narcissism, sociopathy, psychopathy, that kind of thing. I'm by far not an expert on it, but from my own experiences, there are definitely red flags of people that people exhibit where you should be like, okay, yeah, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm not dealing with this person. Like, that's a red, you know, some serious red flags. I don't want this in my life, because they're predators and they're energy vampires. They will drain you. That's what they do. They look for prey, and they use them and abuse them, and they discard them. And sometimes they'll try to get them back and then do the same fucking cycle again. So yeah, I could do whole videos on PDs, but yeah, it's too much to talk about right now when I'm going to be ending the Q&A soon. Let's see here. People are having a lot of conversations amongst themselves. How much DHA EPA do you recommend per day, algae-based? I take 600 mils. I also take, I think it's about 2 grams of flax. It's a tablespoon of whole flax seeds that I dump into a coffee grinder and grind that shit up into a powder, and I'll sprinkle it on my meal. But I take a couple of vegan gel caps of a DHA, algae-based DHA EPA that offers, I think, 600 mils of DHA and EPA. And I actually got those recommendations from Dr. Greger, as I recall. He has a book called How Not to Die, I think it's what it's called, and he actually put those numbers in there. I do remember looking the numbers up and confirming them, but it all turned out to be legit, and that's what I based my intake on. Although I think he said it was 500 mils, but I do 600 because that's just what's in my capsules in the serving. Let's see. People are kind of having a combo amongst themselves, so I'm just gonna. I'm gonna like do like 2 more questions. I'm just gonna scroll down at random, and I'm just gonna like pick one, and I'm gonna answer it. So hopefully this works. So boom. Hey man, what do you think about guys who stay with abusive girlfriends that wreck their cars and punch them in the face? My roommate is what he puts in parentheses. I mean, personally, I think that anybody who stays in an abusive relationship, they're just enabling it. They're asking for it. They need to get the hell out. There's reasons why people stay in those kinds of relationships. Now, I'm not a psychologist, but I think some people, they feel like this is all they deserve. Maybe they don't consciously think that, but subconsciously they think that. Maybe they're just afraid of being alone. There could be numerous factors, but I think that for your own self-respect, your own well-being and health, physically, emotionally, psychologically, you need to get the hell out of those kinds of situations. That's my thoughts. So yeah, I don't think they're doing themselves any favors. So I'm going to do one more question, and well, I just scrolled down the fucking page. So boom. Cory, what do you think is the best diet for weight loss? Ann asks, keto or low calorie? Low calorie. I'm just going to say keto is not superior. Keto is a tool in the toolbox. But even with a keto diet, you need to be low cal. Not excessively, just a couple hundred calories below your maintenance needs is all you really need to go. I don't promote starvation diets. And understand the lower you go, the higher your protein would need to be to ensure you don't you retain muscle while you're lifting as well. That's a key thing, and research has shown that too. That really low calorie diets, like 40% deficit, do require a much higher protein intake than your typical 0.75 to 1 gram per pound. Sean just sent me a super chat of $4.99. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to cut here. I've got some projects I'm working on here at home today, and I got to get back to them a bit. But I wanted to get back and do a Q&A this week, guys. I've missed them. I'm sure you guys have missed them as well. And I think for now I'm going to do them like a couple here a month, like every other week, alternating, and a couple at my Patreon per month, alternating like as such for now. But I might move it to more on Patreon because those folks are paying for these to have them. And I want to make sure that I'm giving them something, a little extra because they are contributing financially every month. But it's good to be back with this, and I'll see you guys in the next Q&A. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care.